Hi friends, welcome to today's video session. In this session, we are going to discuss about artificial neural networks and the fundamental concepts of artificial neural networks. Let us start our discussion. So the term artificial neural network refers to a biologically inspired subfield of artificial intelligence modeled after the human brain. An artificial neural network is usually a computational network based on the biological neural networks that construct the structure of human brain. In general, the human brain has neurons which are interconnected to each other. Similarly, in the artificial neural networks also have neurons that are linked to each other in the various layers of the networks. We will discuss in detail how it is constructed, how this construction will be. The neurons in the artificial neural networks is known as nodes. So in the diagram, in order to discuss in detail about the artificial neural networks, let us see how the biological neural networks it will be. The diagram shows one of the neuron with the different parts. A biological neural networks refers to the interconnected system of neurons found in the brain and the nervous system of the living organism. Is a fundamental structure enable processing and transmission of information within the biological organisms. So there are basically, if you see, there are four parts are available in this biological nerve or neuron. So the first one is the cell, that is the main body of the cell, and the second one is this the extended part that is known as the dendrites, and the other part of this one is how the output goes, that is known as axon, and how it is connected is represented as synapse. We will discuss one by one these parts, about these parts. First one is a biological neuron. A nerve cell neuron is special biological cell that process information. So whatever the input received from the received for the neurons, it will be processed inside of the cell. According to an estimation, there are huge number of neurons. Approximately, there are 1,000 billion neurons in the human brain, and each neuron has an association point, and somewhere in the range of 1,000 to 1 lakh connections. These neurons are capable of generating and transmitting electric pulses known as action potentials or nerve impulses. How these electrical impulses will be generated in the neurons means with the release of chemical energy or chemical formation, chemical reactions and all. So let us see what are the different other parts of the neuron. There is a next one is a dendrites. From the cell body, there are tree-like structures or tree-like branches are extended. These points, from their points, it is connected to the other cells or other neuron cells. So with this connect dendrites, what it will do, it will receive the information from the other neurons. Sometimes there will be specialized neurons will be there. Through that, it will receive the input. The next one is cell body is known as soma. The cell body of the neuron is known as soma. In the cell, inside of the cell body, actually what happens with the processing of the input received from the dendrites. And once the information is processed inside of the cell body, it will become an output. That output will goes through an axon. It is just like a cable in which neurons sense information. That is what is the information that is processed inside of the neuron. That will be it will become a output for the other neurons or other system, neural network system. So this will pass through the other part known as axon, just like a cable, wire-like connection, cable-like connection. And the next one is synapse. and how this each neuron is connected at the dendrites. How strong this connection is given with the synapses. So the synapses may increase, the strength of the synapses will represent how it is connected. The synapse is nothing but at the dendrites, it is connected with the other neurons. The joining point of the neuron with the dendrites is nothing but a synapse. At this point, how the neuron is connected with the dendrites represents the strength. It is given with some strength. So that is a synapse. So this strength may increase or decrease. Sometimes if you are provided more, how it is going to increase in the biological system is if you are giving the more information, more association of the other neuron information, then the strength will become more. It can become strengthened. The connection will become strengthened. If it is if you are giving the less information, less association of the neurons of relevant informations, then the strength will reduces. That is it will be weaken the connections. That is how it is given by the association of the neurons is given with the synapse. How it is connected, one neuron with another neuron at the dendrites is represented with the synapse. The synapse is more stronger if it is having more relevant information. So more the association of the one neuron with the other neuron in terms of the information processing and all, that depends. The next one is the processing. So in general, the process of information transmission within the BNN, that is a biological neural network, starts with the sensory input. So our human brains, our human system will have 5 sensors basically. One is eyes, which will give the sight, and ears will receive the input signals in the form of sound waves, and the skin will have touch, and the nose will have smell, and the tongue will have taste. These all 5 organs will receive the information from the for the biological neural networks. So these cells will receive the input for the nervous system. So these are sensory nervous, special nervous, which are available with the human system, which will receive the input for the biological neural networks. These neurons convert the sensory stimuli into electrical signals. So whatever the information received in the form of sound, in the form of light, in the form of touch, in the form of smell, all these inputs are converted into electrical signals. These are transmitted through the neurons in the networks. How it is connected means through network. These signals propagate through the networks via synaptic connections, where each neuron is connected with the dendrites. It's nothing but a synaptic connection, where the neurotransmitters are released to transmit the signals between the neurons. So it will receive the input from the specialized neurons, sensory neurons. From there, it will be processed. It will release some electrical signals. These electrical signals propagated through the neurons in the network. And in this cell, these neurons will process. So we have different types of neurons. We have different functions, such as the sensory neurons for receiving the input. Similarly, the motor neurons, if you want to do some actions and all, for that motor neurons for controlling the muscle movements, and there are internal neurons for relaying, processing of information within the networks. So there are different types of neurons have different functions. So these one may be just sensory neurons for receiving the input, or motor neurons for controlling muscle movements and all. The third one is internal neurons for relaying, that is the carrying or processing of information within the network. The strength of the connection between the neurons, known as synaptic weights, can be modified through a process called synaptic plasticity. So what is the synaptic plasticity mean? The ability to adjust the synaptic strength is essential for learning and memory memory formation in the biological organism. So this synaptic plasticity, that is the property, the ability to adjust synaptic strength, is essential for learning and memory formation in the biological organism. So it allows the BNN to adopt its connections based on experiences to optimize information processing. How the synaptic plasticity will be adjusted means with giving the data. So how it is going to get the data means in the form of experiences, and to optimize the processing, information processing. The next one, what is the interrelation between the how the binary neural networks is represented in the artificial neural network. The binary neural network, it is represented with 4 parts, that is cell body, dendrites, and axon and synaptic. So which are discussed up to now. Now if you consider the artificial neural network, it consists of 3 layers. So the 3 layers basically, the first one is input layer, the middle one is the hidden layer, the third one is output layer. In the input layer, it receives the input from the various sensors or various sources. So that is the input layer. Input layer receives the data from the sources. And in the middle layer, there will be actual processing will be there. In the diagram, it is represented with the circular identification. There are 2 actions. The processing will be taking place. Once the information is processed in the artificial neural network, it will be generate some signal, some output. That output will be given to the third layer, which is known as output layer. So in the artificial neural networks, so it consists of basically 3 layers. One is input layer, middle layer or hidden layer, and output layer. There may be more than, in between the input and output, there may be hidden layer. There may be more than one hidden layer will be there. Based on the complexity of the connection, neural network connection, it will depend. So now we can compare to what is these 4 parts will represent in the artificial neural networks. What is available with the biological neural networks, how these 4 parts are identified, are resembles in the artificial neural network, just we'll see. So whatever the dendrites are there, that is nothing but, it is dendrites is nothing but, it's receives the input for the biological neural network. The same thing is performed by the input layer. And the cell nucleus, that is a cell body, here cells and neuron cells are known as nodes. So how this input and the hidden layers and the output layers are connected means in the form of nodes. And a synapse is weights. So in the neural networks, the biological neural networks, how it is connected, how strong it is, how these neurons are connected with the dendrites is represented with the synapse. The same thing, how this input is connected to the how the input layer of the data is connected to the middle layer is represented with the weights. Weight represents how this input data is connected for the processing. So how that is represented in the form of weights. And the last one, once the input layer, the information is processed inside of the middle layer, which is represented in the form of circle. So from there it will generate one signal or output. That output will be processed to the output layer. So all these 4 parts are represented in the 3 layers. One is dendrites are represented with the input layer. The cell bodies are represented how it is connected. The input and the middle layer is represented with the nodes, and the synapse is nothing but weights in the artificial neural networks. And the axon in the biological neural networks represents output in the artificial neural networks. These are how the biological neural networks is resembled in the artificial neural networks in the same representation, in similar representation. So how this artificial neural networks will work? Let us see the simple how the information is processed. So from the input layer, it will receive the input maybe in the form of x1, x2, x3, x4, some data it is received through the input layer. and these data is connected to the middle layer. In the middle layer, there are the processing of the information will be happens. So in the for processing of the information, there will be two things will be there. One is summation function and activation functions. So the input which is received for the input received from the input layer is given for the middle layer for summation function. How it is means, how it is given means the summation function means with by providing the some weights. So input 1 is given with some weight function W1. Input 2 is given with the weight, some weight, that is a W2. Input 3 is given with the W3, and we have so on how many inputs are giving. Each one will have some weightage. So that is Wn. And it is going to add the summation function. It will be like this. So xm equal to x1 W1, x2 W2, x3 W3, and so on xm ym wm. So this is the net input. The total ym, the summation function will give the net input, which is sigma I to m, the xi, yi, wi. So that is represents the summation functions. The summation function, again it will go for the activation function. The activation function, there will be some threshold value will be there. If the summation function reaches some threshold value, some value, then it will give one signal. If it is less than some value, it will give some, there will be no actions. So the threshold value give the whether they going to release the signal or not. That will be decided by the some threshold value. That is the activation function. Activation function will give the output. The output may be y. So the output function maybe happens if the sigma ym, that is a summation function, reaches one particular value. So if it is matches the threshold value, then it will release the some function. If it is not matches with the threshold value, it won't give you, it won't releases any functions. This is the basic working of the artificial neural networks. So in this session we'll close the topic. So we'll discuss with examples and the characteristics of the artificial neural networks, and what are the different models of neurons, how the processing will be. We'll discuss each one with the simple examples in the further videos. So if you like this channel, if you like this video, please subscribe and share to our channel. Thank you.